Hello and welcome back to another episode of Endurance Insights. Thank you for your patience over the last couple weeks. Just had lots going on in life and work and working with all my athletes recently. So just been taking a little hiatus here, but ready to get back to it. I'm actually heading on vacation this next week, but going to record a couple in a row so I can release them on the 10th and 17th for your listening pleasure. I've also, just if you've been curious, I have moved stuff over to my website recently and got a bunch of new stock plans on there. If anybody's interested, I have triathlon plans, high rocks plans, CrossFit endurance plans where you have either runs or bike and run, and definitely progressive in there. And it's great on Training Peaks because you can do some baseline tests, set your thresholds, and then update those as your fitness changes. And I've built the workouts as percentage of threshold, so those will continue to update to your zone. So you're getting a bit of customized training without having to do one-on-one coaching. So lots of people have been purchasing those recently and giving me good feedback, and I'm always tweaking those or adding new plans as people want those. But let's get into it for today. So a couple topics I wanted to cover, and I've covered these a little bit on my Instagram recently. So if you want some more in-depth pieces there, I'm going to go through them a bunch here, but some nice visuals as well on my Instagram at Mark Cullen with an extra N. So first one I wanted to talk about was best spot to put strength training in your endurance week. So I'm more going to talk around, and this is for anybody, runners, triathletes, CrossFit athletes. I'm definitely a fan of the hard days hard, easy days easy principle. So I really like to stack strength typically right after my quality workouts, either right after, about 6 hours after the same day, or the next day. Where I've run into issues with athletes and myself in the past is doing it either the day before a key workout, or even the morning of a key workout that you're doing later in the day, or even like 2 days before. I mean, it usually is okay. You get enough recovery depending on how hard you go. But really, I've found for most people the best way is to do it, the same day or later that day or the next day. And what that allows is you to do your quality run or bike workout, do that strength later in the day, and then you get ample time, usually a couple days until your next key workout. So you can hit those aerobic workouts or mobility or yoga those days in between, but make sure that you're not compromising your key workouts where the adaptations are really taking place. And then also just listening to yourself on some of those aerobic workouts. If you're a little beat up from a hard day with a key workout and maybe some strength in there, that it's okay to go a little more RPE based on your easy days and lower the power or lower the pace, or just not even look at the pace on some of the easy days. Like my easy days fluctuate so much. So for example, my marathon pace is around 4 minutes per kilometer, around a 2:45, 48 marathon. I'll do a lot of my easy runs on the days I feel good. I might be running as fast as 4:30 on those days. The days I feel like crap, I might be running closer to 5:30, but I really am in tune with how I'm feeling. I want my breathing to be in control, my legs not lighting up. So I'll fluctuate depending on how hard of a workout I've had and how I feel in terms of all my recovery. So take the ego out on the easy stuff. But just some reasons why we do strength in this way. So first off, big neuromuscular component. So endurance sessions require a lot of coordination, efficiency, and economy. And when we do strength training, we are fatiguing the neuromuscular system, and we end up with a little bit more worse mechanics. We're just not quite as snappy. Feels like you're kind of sinking into the ground. Just feels like you're sort of grinding and muscling, and you don't have that regular pop you might have when you have that freshness. And then also from the physiological effects side of things, endurance activates something called AMPK pathways, and strength does something and activates something called mTOR signaling. And what happens is these two have some interference effect with each other, but most of the research shows that when you do endurance before strength, it reduces that interference effect on the endurance adaptations, where if you're doing strength first, it has a larger negative effect on that endurance performance. So just from the physiological side as well. But I think anybody will tell you who's done this before, if you do a strength session the morning of and you're doing a run either right after or later, that's a quality run. You just hit it like crap. But if you do it the opposite way, you can hit a quality run and still be able to do your strength at 95% of capacity and still get what you need. A good hard day with the stimulus on both. And then you maybe get 2 days, even 3 days recovery until your next quality workout where you have time to recover but still build aerobic volume. And then just from the injury risk management side of things, there's definitely some like strength induced fatigue that happens that sort of reduces joint control and stiffness regulation. So just could maybe put yourself at higher injury risk. So just on that running biomechanics side. So I challenge you to always try moving around your strength in the week, but I've found that to be the most success for most of my athletes. And then in the next section, a little bit around the easy running I was just talking about. I think a lot of people in this day and age are so obsessed with what they're uploading to Strava in terms of, oh, my easy run pace was this, or my workout pace was this, and I need to have this sweet average across the week of this as fast as possible throughout the week. But I really think people need to be adding more hills to their training. So you can add this in a couple ways. And I say this because I think way too many people just run on flat treadmills or the same flat route around their neighborhood or flat tracks for all their stuff if they're doing any sort of speed work. And while that all has a place and time, especially if you're preparing for a flat race or you're looking to really control intensity on something, it's a great idea. But I think people are getting way too soft and copping out and missing out on massive benefits that hills offer. So some ways that I incorporate hills in my own and my athletes' training. First of all, in the base season, I'm definitely putting in hill reps for people. So that might be some of their quality workouts before we're building towards more 5K, 10K threshold type of work where I'll start with a lot of hill reps. So it could be anything from 15 seconds up to minute 30, even 2 minutes if we're trying to do some more like 5K effort type of reps on that. And great for the biomechanics in terms of the load management too. It's great. A little less impact versus like really running hard on the flats where you can injure your glutes and hamstrings and stuff because of all that engagement. You get just some better impact management on some of the hills there. And I just think also a great way, what I usually do from there is when I move into my next phase where I'm starting to get a bit more quality in my long run, or some of my midweek speed sessions are a little bit more threshold or 5K, 10K work where I might be on a flatter or rolling route, or maybe even using a track. I actually change a lot of my easy runs to be what I call in my athletes plan Ethiopian easy runs. So you've heard me talk about these before, but they're essentially where you go out, pick a hilly route, could be road route, could be trail route, and essentially just all you're looking at is time on this, and you're just aiming for time and RPE. So when you're going on the uphills, your breathing rate and legs will get a little bit heavier. You might go into like a lower zone 3, so maybe like a 6 out of 10 effort. When you're going downhill, that's a time to chill, just kind of open up the legs. That's going to be more like a 2 or 3 out of 10. And then your flat time might be more of like a 4 or 5 out of 10, just kind of cruising on the flats. But breathing's never getting out of control. You're never working that hard. And it's good to pick a ridiculously hilly route. Like I'll have routes here where I'll do like a 10K or 6 mile run that might have close to 200 meters or 600 feet of elevation gain. Like it's just relentless up and down. And what I notice and what my athletes notice is the first couple of weeks, oh yeah, you're kind of grinding up those hills. The legs are lighting up. The breathing's really lighting up. And then what you notice after a couple of weeks is suddenly, oh wow, my breathing rate doesn't really jump that much on this hill, and I can just kind of coast up it and then get over the top and get rolling. And then you also start to notice a lot more like leg strength improvements when you get to the flats or your long runs. You just have this extra pop, especially when you're combining it with things like strides that I have in my athletes week, plus volume that you're building and those quality workouts. But you just notice, yeah, on the quality workouts, you have a little bit more pop in that 5 and 10K range. And then also your legs get less beat up from the long runs. So I think people, if they're just going out and running flat, boring, in control, being like, oh, I got to run this flat route and keep my heart rate in 140 to 145 BPM, they could be missing out on so many massive gains that they get from getting efficient on these hills. Another piece I notice, a big one, is like I was talking about, the breathing rate doesn't go up quite as much on these hills when you're doing this. And then what happens is when you get to the flats, your body's used to these sort of undulations. So if you have a surge like in a race, or you start an interval and surge a little bit hard, your body has a little bit more of these tools to be able to manage that lactate a little bit, or bring the heart rate down a little quicker at a higher sort of rate of perceived exertion, or just like sort of speed that you're running at. You can recover quicker along that. So there's just so many benefits to this. So I challenge you, just put the ego aside. You don't need to worry about heart rate or pace or distance on these. Just go out and run time based on these. You're not going to log tons of Ks doing them, but you will get quicker over this, and you'll get more efficient at it, and it will pay off in the other parts. So add these Ethiopian easy runs. These Ethiopians, they do this all the time. They have one guy who wears a watch, and it's time based, like one guy in their entire group. The rest of the group isn't even tracking it, and they just go on these ridiculous runs where they're running through the woods up and down. Like, they might be on all fours at times, but they're just not expending extra energy that's going to ruin their key workouts, and it does so much for making those flat routes feel super easy. So highly recommend that. So those are my 2 topics for today. We'll leave it at that, and I got a couple more coming next week. About a few other topics that I think you guys might like, around some super shoes and some of my favorite marathon prep long runs. And maybe I'll talk a little bit about my training leading up to Eugene Marathon, which is in April coming up. All right, we'll catch you next week.